How many times have you said to someone, "I'm fine," while at the same time feeling like your chest is about to explode? It's very important to not see it as weakness, but see it as a pointer towards what needs to be worked on. That is a very clear sign that you, me, anybody else that feels the same way has been taught to resist feelings. And resistance is something that I want to talk about today, what it is, and some techniques how you can manage it and solve it. Hello and welcome to Productively Mindful. My name is ailandas.sulcas. I hope you enjoy your stay here. I hope you find this video useful. Like I just mentioned, I want to talk about resistance today, and specifically resistance towards expressing emotions, feeling emotions, just feeling in general. This is definitely a very prevalent issue with men, and it's something that I can relate to very heavily myself. Somebody that comes from Eastern Europe, the old school upbringing. There was not a lot of emphasis on how to feel, what are emotions, how to feel emotions, how to understand them, etc. And it kind of inherently built this resistance around being emotional, being able to feel as a man. And saying the fact that it's mostly prevalent with men doesn't necessarily mean that it's not prevalent with women. I'm sure there are women out there that feel the same way. So I want to talk about that resistance part, and not just from a psychological part, because I'm not a psychologist or anything like that, but just resistance overall, perhaps more of a spiritual point of view. But resistance, the way I see it, the way I understand it, perhaps is going to give you some more insight and understanding towards what that resistance does to you and how it happens, how to prevent it, what to use to manage it and prevent it, and eventually stop it, ideally. The way life happens is we experience it throughout our framework of body and mind. So everything that we experience in what we could call reality happens within this framework that I just mentioned. Because we see things, we hear things, we taste things, smell things, touch things, and we are aware of things, all those together creates the experience of reality. Now, the way we approach that experience of reality is very superficial. And because it is very superficial, we assume that what happens outside of this framework is the cause for whatever we feel, whatever emotion it causes us to feel, whatever it may be, whatever experience we have. And that is a big problem, because most of the time, whatever happens outside is not necessarily what we want to happen. Most of the time. Obviously, there are situations where something happens and we're like, oh yes, I really wanted that to happen, like our pay rise at work, for example. But good things can also lead to bad things. If we experience something good, like a pay rise, let's say, we might get attached to it and we might crave it. And the longer it takes to get our next pay rise, the longer we will stay miserable. The less likely it is that we will leave a job that we potentially always liked, but we suddenly don't like because we're craving that pay rise and we're not getting it for a while. Our productivity might die down because we will feel like, what's the point in putting that effort in if I'm not getting paid more for it? And there's loads of things that can happen with positive outcomes, positive events, right? So we can, because of that superficial experience of life, we create resistances because it doesn't happen the way we want it to happen. If whatever happens doesn't happen the way we want it to happen, that means we're not happy, we're not content, we're not pleased with that moment of that event, and we try and resist it. And if we try and resist it, that creates a blockage in the flow of moment to moment. And that blockage creates negativity within us. We start feeling negatively about the situation, about the event. Next time something similar happens, we instinctively start feeling negative about that event, that experience. However similar it is, even slightly similar, it's gonna cause us feel negatively. And the more it happens, the more we resist it, the more triggers we build, the stronger those triggers become. And situations where we might have mildly felt negatively towards something can become something that causes us panic attacks, causes us emotional breakdowns, causes immense emotional suppression, and we forget the ability to feel. We forget how to distinguish certain emotions fully and truly. We forget, or sometimes never even develop, the ability to learn what happens before an emotion takes place. So we tend to react impulsively to whatever the situation is through extreme emotions like anger or like a panic attack or anxiety, whatever it may be. It's also a very powerful source of stress, this resistance. And if we resist the natural flow of life, if we don't understand things like impermanence, because everything that happens, everything that rises in our perception of reality must fall, nothing is eternal, so there's no point in reactive with aversion or craving to anything. So if we don't understand concepts like impermanence or the concept of observation of oneself, we again start resisting. We start resisting every single moment because we are ignorant to the fact that we are resisting something that is temporary. We're ignorant to the fact that we're resisting something that creates disorder and imbalance in our mind and our body through the release of the hormones of cortisol that causes stress. So the way I see resistance basically is just resisting the natural flow of life, the natural flow of events, the moment-to-moment passage, by trying to give some sort of justification to whatever is happening now that's causing you some sort of discomfort, some sort of negative feeling, or some sort of attachment to whatever the situation is. And like I said, that can lead to many issues, many difficulties. And one of the biggest ones is emotional suppression. The fact that we suppress the ability to feel because it does not feel good. It does not feel comfortable. It is a bad feeling. So we wanna start learning how to deal with that emotional suppression. And we also want to understand that feeling the negative feelings is also part of the journey. We need to be able to understand and create insight towards every single feeling, every single emotion that we experience, to be able to stop resisting it, because the resistance is there because we do not understand our feelings and our emotions. So one of the first and most powerful tools that you can develop and use to be able to deal with emotional suppression and creating understanding and insight towards your emotions and feelings is awareness. Pure and simple, awareness. We are all aware, but the problem is that we are very superficially aware. We are aware of the fact that we might feel fine, we might feel good, we might feel bad, but that's very superficial. Why is it that we're feeling that way? And in fact, awareness can go so deep that it can become faster than your impulsive reaction to whatever situation is happening. For example, if you practice a certain type of meditation that gets you accustomed to feeling sensations on your body, you will start noticing biochemical processes happening in your body within that framework that I mentioned before you get the opportunity to react to whatever the situation, the experience, the event is. So if you can build the awareness to a deeper level, you can notice the emotions before they happen. And if you can notice the emotions before they happen, you can stay in the middle way of your emotional state, emotional being, whatever you might call it. You don't jump to one extreme, which is becoming the emotion. You don't jump to the other extreme, which is emotionally suppressing. You're just aware enough, just present enough to observe the emotion by observing the sensations on your body. By observing, you can start creating understanding and you can start creating insight towards your emotions. And you can also see how they slowly disappear, slowly dissipate without causing any damage. And again, the more you do that, the more you get accustomed to that awareness, the less likely it is that those emotions will affect you moving forward. It's not something that happens overnight, mind you. It does take a very, very long time to get very good at that process. It's part of a 5-step process that I talk about a lot. And if it's something that you're interested in, I will link that video above and underneath for you to check out. So make sure you do. Another technique, if you want to focus on that body sensation that integrates well with awareness, if you want to become simply aware of whatever that emotion is, you can also build in something like somatic presence. And somatic presence basically goes in deeper into actually feeling where that emotion is in your body, whatever body part it harbors, wherever that emotion is present. And what that somatic presence allows you to do is you give that sensation, that feeling, that emotion, whatever it is in your body, attention. You give that emotion, that feeling, whatever it may be, attention for like 60 seconds. Give it some attention. So you give it more awareness than anything else in that moment. What this does, by giving that attention, by giving that permission to stay for those 60 seconds, is it rewires your nervous system to see that emotion as something that is normal. This sort of awareness gives more effectiveness towards going against emotional suppression and actually building emotional intelligence and allowing emotions to be and happen. So somatic presence gives the ability for your brain to change the perspective towards emotions and see them not as something that is negative, but as something that is normal and should be allowed to be present whenever a situation happens. So pure awareness is something that allows you to become aware of those emotions before they happen, so you can prevent those emotions to become extremely overwhelming or suppress them. And then if you also integrate somatic presence, it also allows you to, while you're observing the emotions, the feelings, be there with those emotions and feelings and allow them to be present for at least 60 seconds so you can become calm with those emotions, become friends with those emotions, and understand that they are okay. They are allowed to be there and they are allowed to make you feel the way they make you feel, while also observing them for what they are, for what signals, biochemical signals, they make your body create. And as you're observing that emotion, that feeling, as you're giving that somatic presence, it will slowly dwindle away without creating massive damage, massive emotional suppression, or you becoming that emotion, whatever it may be. There's also something called a yes and practice. What that does is that works very well against the resistance part of things. Usually when we experience some sort of strong emotion, strong feeling, we get this duality in our mind. The duality happens between you and you, for the lack of better explanation. You start creating a voice in your mind, let's call it the ego, and the ego starts having a conversation with itself. One voice is trying to explain why you're feeling and why you should be feeling a certain way in a situation. The other voice starts trying to explain why you shouldn't be feeling the way you're feeling, or why you shouldn't be feeling the emotion the way you're feeling the emotion within that certain event, certain scenario. Now, that duality is only there because those voices don't agree. So the yes and practice, what it does is it allows you to train your mind to give importance to both voices. It gives you the ability to have a perspective of both voices. And then that duality slowly dwindles away. That kind of clash of ideas and perspectives disappears. And in turn, the resistance starts diminishing and starts going away. It is, again, not something that will happen overnight. None of these will fix you overnight, fix your emotional suppression overnight. But these are practices that you can implement, and they will slowly over time change the neuroplasticity of your mind, your brain, in a way that will allow you to use those tools automatically, almost as if you're breathing, right? And those tools will eventually get you to a point where emotional suppression will start getting lower, lower, and lower. Your awareness will become stronger. Your ability to observe your emotions will become better. You'll gain more understanding and more insight towards your emotions. And last tool that I would like to offer is called microdosing. And it is not the microdosing that you might be thinking of, but it's microdosing emotional experience. Now, this is not necessarily an easy task to do unless you have somebody that will allow you to go through that process of microdosing those emotional experiences of whatever the emotional experience that you want to microdose is. But if you have the ability to do so, if you have somebody that can help you with it, somebody that can slowly push you through this certain emotion bit by bit, more and more, so you get accustomed to it and you stop overreacting and resisting it because you have lack of knowledge and lack of understanding and insight about this emotion, it is quite a difficult tool to use. But if you do have somebody that can help you do that, it is very, very powerful. And it's like with anything that we do in life, if you start with small steps, eventually you'll be able to take bigger and bigger and bigger steps. It can be anything to do with career, sports, some sort of a hobby, anything that we do. Neuroplasticity builds, and with time we become better. So it's the same with this microdosing of emotional experience. You start with small amounts of an experience that would cause you anger. You build up to it over and over and over and over again, but because you keep getting exposed to small amounts that are increasingly getting bigger, but very, very slowly, very controlled, the anger that you might experience at full expression will not be as powerful as it normally would be when you are made to experience anger in a situation that is not in a controlled environment. So you basically diminish the resistance, you increase your understanding, and you increase your insight towards whatever that emotion, that feeling is. So these are 4 simple techniques, but they are very powerful. If you learn how to use them properly, they can really help you a lot. So I would really recommend you to give them a go. And let me know in the comments as well. Drop a comment underneath. Let me know if you tried them before, if you're going to try them. And if you're going to try them, give them a go and drop a comment here after some time. Let us know how it went, if it helped you, if it didn't help you. I also have a free community called the Flame Keepers, where I teach people how to look after their flame, which is their soul, by using their emotions and feelings to become the spiritual warrior that turns them into their power. Somebody that moves away from emotional suppression and expresses emotions freely, understands them completely, and creates full insight through that 5-step process that I mentioned earlier. That community has daily affirmations, we have guided meditations there, weekly group meetings, and exclusive monthly content. So if that's something that you're interested in, it's completely free. I'll link it underneath this video for you to check it out. If you could like the video and subscribe, that would be a massive help, because the more likes I get, the more subscriptions I get, the more my content will get pushed out to the relevant audience, the more people I can help, the more I can support, and the more value I can give to everybody. Otherwise, this has been ailandas.sulcas from Productively Mindful. I love you all dearly, sincerely. I'll speak to you all very, very soon. Goodbye.